Welcome to IMD's Industry Insights. We'll be right back. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you to hit that like button. And also, if you want to subscribe to our podcast, hit that button down in the bottom right corner there, and that'll get you subscribed. We do appreciate you being here. Let's get started. Recently, Industry Insights had an opportunity to tour the Scotchman Industries plant in Phillip, South Dakota. Plant Superintendent Brad Heltzel was our guide.
As you can see right now, we're running our CO2 laser. We're cutting our 3/4 inch material. Right now we're cutting 50 turret frames. Then we'll take these frames out, sort them. Michael D. Durham over here, this is a magnetic forklift, so you can turn it over. You can pick it up and you can turn it over with the magnet. Makes it a lot easier than using a hoist and trying to flip the part. This is our Trump laser and press brake, so we have a CO2 Trump laser. Right now he's not bending anything, he's lasering, but we'll take a lot of our laser parts and we'll bend. Some might be a simple 45 or 90 degree bend, some will have to get rolled 3 times. So that just started out as a flat piece and it'll be a little slug shoot. So all these different things are just waiting here to get bent. We can bend up to 10 feet. So you can see we'll load he's cutting his 3/4 inch right now. So he'll load his 3/4 inch sheets on the bottom. The suction cups will pick that plate up, slide it over, it'll go inside the machine. When it comes back up, if you can kind of see up here, we try to use every square inch of the 5x10 sheet that we can. On this laser, we have to leave a gap inside there, whatever the thickness is of the material. When we get into 16 gauge, that gap is really thin, so when you see a 5x10 16 gauge, you can see it's just almost, the whole thing is used up. A lot of these things, we've got them nested as good as they're ever going to be, so we just run the exact same nesting over and over and over and over. I just kind of wanted to show you what our scrap, our recycling, steel recycling looks like. So these are what our 5x10 sheets come out as the skeletons when we're done with them. So a company out of Rapid comes and picks these up about every 2 weeks, and then they pay us for the recycling. It's not a lot, but it's better than us having to pay to get it recycled. And the same thing with our chips. So we try to recycle all of our steel that we can. It's a big chip dumpster, and then out there is just some scrap steel dumpsters. Same thing, whenever that's full, I'll call the company. They'll come out and they'll pick it up for us. And our whole building is air conditioned. On days like this, it's really, really nice. So this is our CO2 laser. We cut with nitrogen and oxygen, just depending on the thickness of the material. As you can see, it's running right now. We're running our 3/4 inch frames. This is our nesting right here. So you can see the green line is where it's cut already. And the laser just knows it has to bounce around. It can't stay in the same area too long, or else it'll heat up the material too bad. So before we had our laser and press brake, these types of pieces, ironworker bases, we had to buy from a different company, and it was just that much more difficult. They did a good job, but they had to truck these in, and if we wanted to change this hole right here, we had to send prints and drawings, and hopefully they hadn't already made 100, and it's on its way. So now if we want to move that hole, I can go upstairs to my office, enter it into the system, send it right down. The next one, it'll move that hole down there. So it gives us a lot more freedom on our parts. And if something's just a little bit tight right here, we'll just go make an adjustment. The next one, we'll cut it out a little bit bigger, and helps us to be able to get things put together a little bit easier. There's our 50C frames just waiting to get welded together. These are just our bigger machines, our 65 tons, 90, 120. So all these are what we call a frame assembly. I always like to have a couple of every model down here, and then the bases that they'll go on. So If we sell a couple of 65s and a 90 and a 120, then I'll tell the welder, hey, we need to get a couple of these so the assemblers have something to do. So they'll take the machine, whichever one corresponds with the base, and they'll weld it on, and it'll go down and get assembled from there. As long as we have them sitting here, it just depends on how busy we are. We try to stay within 2 weeks. Right now, we're a little slow, so I could get anything in a couple of days, realistically. But once it gets well, it's got to get machined, and it's got to get painted, and then it has to sit overnight. So a lot of times we could, if we really needed to, we'd get you one in 3 days if I had to. But typically we like to stay around the 2 week. It just gives us a little bit of cushion. And a lot of people order the machine, but we might have to build some tooling to go with it or conveyors. So you got to give it a couple of days just to make sure you got everything for that order. But generally, no more than 2 weeks to get just about anything we have. And so that's what the tool chains look like of the 160 tools, all kinds of different mills, drills, base mills, boring bars, taps. It's kind of neat when they circle, but it has to be using a different tool. But the machine will go out, take that tool out into its pocket, and this whole belt will go out. Oh, there you go. Nice one. Didn't go very far, though. That belt will move all the way around until it grabs the next tool. So these are what our bigger machines look like when they're on the base. So these are ready to get assembled. So as we get a sale for one, he'll grab whichever model that is, and he'll put it in, and he'll put the guts in, the motor, the pumps, the hoses, the blades. He'll set everything, run the machine. This is our smallest iron worker. It's our Portafab 45. It's a 110 machine. I guess I wasn't. We do paint these before we assemble them. It's the only machine that we paint before we assemble. It's a pretty basic machine. One punch station comes with a 3-in-1 tool that'll do flat, round, and angle iron. But these are really good for construction sites. You guys can put these in the back of their pickup and haul them around really easily. So these are basic machines just ready to be sold or assembled. So our 50 tons in our turrets, which we're just getting ready to start another run of turrets back there. As you can see, we try to do everything as easily as possible. These are what we call our 50-ton skids. It's got your hydraulic reservoir, your valves, your motor, electrical box. So he can, instead of assembling all one piece at a time, we can build these outside, and then we just lift that whole thing with a hoist. We slide it into the machine. So you can see right now they're assembling so my assembler is working with a new young engineer. He's out here just kind of learning the ropes of how the machines are built. And they're assembling a 50 turret at the moment. This is kind of our bread and butter Mazak machine. We make this machine, all we make is our punches and dies. Any iron worker takes a punch and die to be able to operate it, to punch the holes through the material. So right now he's making number 40 style, half-inch rounds. This machine will run, so we've got a bar feeder here. So it starts with 4-foot bars, whether it's 1 inch, inch and 3/8, or 2 inch. He'll load this bar feeder, kind of throughout the day, he'll just keep it going according to however many parts he's got to cut. Some we might not do a whole lot of, maybe 14, but some we might do 120. It just depends on what style it is. But so especially when we leave for the day, I've seen this machine run till 2 o'clock in the morning, as long as everything doesn't break a tool or chip a tooth or anything like that. But so it'll make, so out of those 4-foot bars, it'll keep feeding. It's kind of hard to see in there, but we've got a little basket that'll go in there, and it'll grab that part and it'll dump it, and it'll drop onto this conveyor. If you want to wait and watch it or not. But So he's doing 40, number 40 style punches just like that. And it'll engrave the size on them so that they're ready to go down to our heat treat. So once those drop out, they'll come down this rack. They'll just keep spinning inside of here. And then in the morning when we get here, they'll sort them out according to what size it is. We'll put them in a bucket. This is our paint department. With pretty simple concept. We only paint 3 colors. All our machines are blue. Any kind of guarding, tooling is orange. And then things like conveyors and buckets and a little easier to paint are black. Well, it's all we paint, blue, orange, and black. So this is our blue paint booth. We just painted a 610 ironworker. That'll come out and it'll sit over here and dry overnight. Everything that we paint has to sit and dry overnight. Tomorrow morning, they'll come out and they'll grab all these parts with a forklift and a pallet. They'll take them all where they go. The machines will go down to its final assembly from here. But we do our blue in here, and we do our black and orange in here. Then these are our mixing rooms. So we store our paint in here, and then that's where we mix the paint with the hardener, and they go through a block that makes it a 4-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or whatever the ratio is with hardener and paint. So this is what a machine looks like before it goes into paint. And you can see how kind of dark, and you kind of wonder how that paint's going to cover all those imperfections. But our blue hammer tone is just, it's awesome. It covers all that imperfections. And yeah, so once we get over and look at a finished one, you'll see the difference in it. But so we used to tape a lot of these off, and it's a lot of time to sit there and tape parts that you don't want paint. So we started making magnets. So we don't want paint on these parts, so we can just throw a magnet down, and then we'll just paint over top of the magnet. When we're done tomorrow morning, they'll take the magnet off, we'll stick them up on the shelves. That saves us a lot of time from taping parts off. Magnets here, magnets here, magnets here. We use a little bit of tape on some handles, but not near as much tape as we used to have to use. So that was a really good idea for those guys came up with to start using magnets. We just bag a foot pedal so we don't get paint on it or the hose. And so this machine will go in and sit on some blocks, and from there it'll get painted and come out dry in the morning. So right now he's painting blue. So this is what our machines look like after they're painted. So they come out. They were a little bit tacky this morning because I forgot to come back and turn the air on last night. So we'll let them sit for a little bit so that they dry a little bit better. But when it starts to get humid, it gets humid back there. We got to let them dry a little bit. But in this area, he'll put on all the guards, the die holders, the strippers, the data tags, any information stickers that we have. He'll run them up and down a couple of times. All of our machines now come with LED lights. So we'll install the LED lights. We might install lasers, oversized tables, just whatever a customer orders. We put it on in this area. And he's the last person that will operate it before it'll go down to the shipping department. So once he's dry, he'll come back and he'll add the different guards and tables and holders. So we do our bigger machines on this side. So they're just all on a lift. When they're working on the electrical, they can bring them up or raise them up or lower them down.
What?
So same thing on this side. It's just guards and angle shears and shear doors and strippers and die holders, tables. You'll put them on whichever machine it is that's going out the door. This is our heat treat system. So this is where we heat treat our punches and dies and our blades. They all kind of start out with that shiny look, and when they get done cooking, they've got kind of this bluish gray color to them. That's kind of what they'll look like when they get out of the heat treat. So we'll load a basket if it's Right now he's going to do a bunch of dies in these two baskets. So we'll use this hoist it up. We'll bring it down to our heat pot. We do a sand bath. Heat treat system is what it's called. So if you look just inside that hole right there, you can see the orange flames. I don't know if you can see that or not. It gets really hot. So we'll run these up to either 1,700 degrees or 1,500 degrees, depending on what material it is. It'll sit at that degree for 45 minutes. We'll use that hoist, take it out. That basket will just be glowing red, all the parts in it. We'll bring it over. It'll come down into our quench. And this is just quench. That's just cold water that runs around the outside that cools the sand. And you can see that sand just percolates inside there by air through our air compressor. We will purge this one with liquid nitrogen to expose the oxygen out of the sand. So once it's glowing red and hot for 45 minutes, it'll come in here and it'll cool it down to about 140 degrees. We just shoot it with a gauge to tell us it's at 140. I think it usually takes about an hour to do that. We'll lift it back up. It'll come back into our draw furnace. And then our draw furnace, so we heat it, superheat it, cool it, and then we draw it back up with heat. This doesn't go near as hot as the main furnace. This one will go up to about 420 degrees, but it takes it a while. So right now he's got something in the draw. It's just attached to this bell. You just can't see it inside there. That'll take about 2 hours. Once that's done, he'll lift it out, bring it over. We'll dump it out. You can see kind of the sand on the bottom here. We'll dump those parts out, and then they'll just air cool here. And then we've got our own hardness tester, certified hardness tester. So we'll check 10 to 20% of our loads just to make sure everything's within our standard. We like to heat treat to a 56 to 58 on a Rockwell C scale. Generally, knock on wood, we don't have any problems. If that happens, that's why we check it, that we can go back and see what material is. But we've got a pretty defined process that we know exactly how long stuff takes. We know what exactly material we're using from our vendors that we're sticking in there. So yeah, we generally don't have any problems at all getting our parts heat treated. So once they get tested, they'll get sorted, and then they'll go back down to our parts room. They'll go out for sale after that. So this is our saw department. We do our manual saws on this side. We do our automatic saws on this side. We can do manual saws that are basically kind of chop saws, and we can get as fancy as you want. We can put pusher systems on them. We can make them power clamp, power down, variable speeds. So just whatever the customer wants. If they want a plain Jane, we can make a plain Jane. We'll make auto loader style saws that have these huge bundle loaders attached to them. That's kind of what these legs are right here. We're just waiting for the pusher system that Jerry probably showed you down there. We'll do a 24-foot big pusher system. So it'll take all those legs, and it'll be from all the way out where that machine's sitting all the way back up here, and then it'll attach to the saw on this end, and it'll be a complete auto feed system that goes into it. Right now they're finishing a non-ferrous hitch feed saw. So this is one of our automatic saws for non-ferrous material. I think they're probably just about done loading the program in and run it and test it, and it'll go out the door. These are just different tools ready for sale. Weld benders, pipe notchers, rod shears, brakes, 12-inch brakes, 8-inch brakes for different machines, open-end brakes, offset die holders. So these are all ready for sale. Just as the parts room gets orders, they'll come box them up and weigh them. We've got our scales over there. They'll weigh all the stuff. So these are what our machines look like once they're skidded. And they'll go all over the world. They'll go all over the United States. They'll go to Asia, Mexico, Canada. I've seen them go to Dubai. They'll just go all over the world from here. They'll come in, or we'll crate some of them. Some of it is a lot of like the side crates on there just to try to stop trucking from damaging our machines. We get a lot of, just depends. It goes in waves. Sometimes we get a lot of damage. Sometimes we'll go a while without getting damaged. So we try, you can see by all the signs, we try to do everything we can to prevent them from putting something on top of it or running into the forklift or tipping them over. Then we bag them. So that's just kind of, by the end of tomorrow, since it's shipping day, they'll have all those machines that are back in the paint department. All those will be lined out here, finished, and my shipping guy will pallet them, skid them, wrap them, get them ready to go. And that, sir, is about the dime tour.